Something is shifting inside the collective unconscious. The age of the fragile empath is over. Carl Jung foresaw a moment when the feelers would evolve into the builders, and that moment has arrived. You've sensed it, haven't you? That massive inner change lately. That burning refusal to tolerate old patterns, like a fire in your chest you can't put out. This isn't exhaustion. This is an awakening. And here's what makes this shift terrifying to those who depend on empaths staying numb. This new identity isn't about feeling less. It's about using feeling as a weapon of truth. Jung described this as the rise of the authentic self. And the world isn't prepared for what happens when an empath finally absorbs their own power. But before we go further, let me ask you something. Have you noticed how differently people respond to you lately? How those who once praised you for being their stability now call you distant? How family members who admired your understanding now insist you've become critical? That's not random. That's the system resisting your evolution. And things will intensify before they improve. So let's break down the old identity first. The absorber, the fixer, the emotional doormat. Society conditioned empaths to act as containers for everyone else's emotional trash. From the moment you showed the slightest sensitivity, you carried other people's pain without hesitation. Your alcoholic parent's rage became your anxiety. Your partner's cheating turned into your self-doubt. Your family's chaos became your obligation to mend. You were the buffer that kept dysfunctional systems from collapsing. Every toxic workplace needed someone like you to hold morale together while management drained employees. Every broken family needed someone like you to act as the therapist, while everyone else dodged responsibility. Every narcissist needed someone like you to stabilize their emotions while they avoided their own internal work. And you did it. You carried it all. You smiled through the ache. You justified their harmful behavior. You gave chance after chance after chance. You believed in everyone's potential even when they proved exactly who they were. You hauled emotional burdens that never belonged to you because you thought that's what good people were supposed to do. But here's what no one told you. Here's the truth that changes everything. You weren't just absorbing. You were analyzing. Your empathic mind was tracking data every second. Micro-expressions flickering on someone's face in a fraction of a second. Shifts in tone revealing deception. Behavioral patterns predicting future decisions. You built a psychological archive of everyone who ever harmed you. You know their triggers better than they do. You understand their insecurities more deeply than they've ever admitted. You've mapped out their fears, motives, manipulations, vulnerabilities. You've constructed a full psychological profile of every single person around you. Your mind has been running this analysis in the background for years, organizing information with the accuracy of a supercomputer. You know the exact words that would comfort them. You also know the exact words that would destroy them. You know which sentences would heal their deepest wounds, and which ones would break them entirely. You've always held this knowledge. You simply never used it until now. Jung called this the psychological war room. Your mind isn't a victim's diary full of complaints and bruised emotions. It's a strategist's arsenal waiting to be activated. Every painful moment you tolerated became intelligence. Every betrayal you forgave became insight. Every boundary you let someone cross became data about their real nature. You weren't weak during those years. You were collecting intel, and something recently pushed you past the edge. That's when the shift began. That's when you opened the war room and actually saw the data you've gathered. That's when everything changed. Welcome to the new identity, the mirror. When an empath integrates their shadow, the entire dynamic flips. You stop absorbing pain and start reflecting reality. This isn't cruelty, it's clarity. And clarity is the most threatening thing you can give to someone living inside their own illusions. The mirror doesn't attack. The mirror simply shows people exactly who they are, not who they pretend to be. When someone lies to you, now you don't play along. When someone manipulates you, you call it out instantly. When someone violates a boundary, you respond with consequences without feeling guilty. You've stopped shielding people from the fallout of their own behavior. And this terrifies them because they've never encountered this version of you before. The version that sees everything and refuses to look away. The version that speaks uncomfortable truths without softening the blow. The version that withdraws energy from the undeserving with no explanation or apology. Why is this happening now? Because you've reached what Jung described as the saturation point. Your empathic system gathered enough data to finally see the entire pattern, not isolated moments, but the full mechanism of how people have been using you. The lies, the manipulation, the entitlement, it all snapped into sharp focus. This is individuation, Jung's process of becoming whole. But for an empath, individuation takes on a unique form. Empaths aren't broken. They're alchemists in mid-transformation. It means accepting your own capability for destruction. Your shadow isn't just sadness or sensitivity. It contains rage. It carries surgical precision. It holds the ability to dismantle someone psychologically if you chose to use what you know. Most empaths spend their lives avoiding this shadow. You were taught that anger is wrong, that boundaries are harsh, that honesty is hurtful. You were trained to dim your power because people feel safer around a weak empath than a powerful one. A weak empath is easy to shape, use, manipulate. A strong empath threatens every power structure around them. Integrating this shadow doesn't make you cruel. It makes you whole. It gives you the blade you've always lacked. Kind people aren't harmless. They're powerful individuals who choose restraint because they actually have something worth restraining. That choice only matters when you actually possess the power to cause damage, yet consciously decide not to. Think about it this way. If someone is kind simply because they're too weak to be cruel, that's not virtue. That's just a survival mechanism. But when someone has the capacity for intentional psychological warfare and still chooses kindness, that is real strength. That is integrated power. And that's exactly what you're evolving into. Let's break down your superpower more precisely, because most empaths don't fully realize how exceptional their abilities truly are. Your psychological X-ray vision isn't mysticism or intuition in the magical sense. It's rapid data processing happening at speeds that would make artificial intelligence envious. Your mind analyzes thousands of microsignals at once. Pupil expansion hinting at fear or excitement, breathing rhythms revealing stress or deceit, micro-expressions flickering in milliseconds before someone controls their face, subtle tone shifts, exposing hidden emotions, body language mismatches, revealing internal conflict. Jung recognized this as advanced intelligence, not just sensitivity. When you say you have a gut feeling, what's actually happening is your unconscious mind processing massive data sets and handing you a conclusion. Your intuition is your brain's pattern recognition system identifying familiar psychological signatures. Most people handle emotional information slowly and deliberately. They need time to evaluate trustworthiness. They need repeated interactions to form impressions. They need obvious red flags to notice manipulation. You process all of this instantly, unconsciously. That's why you know someone is lying before they finish talking. That's why you feel tension in a room long before others realize anything is wrong. Your nervous system functions like a high-grade scanning instrument, detecting psychological weather patterns invisible to others. This is why you've always felt different. You're operating with a perceptual system most humans don't have. You're perceiving information they're incapable of noticing. And for years, people told you this ability was a flaw. Too sensitive, too emotional, too intense. They pathologized your skill simply because it made them uncomfortable. Now let's address why the people around you are reacting so badly right now. When the empath transforms, the entire structure collapses. You were the load-bearing wall in dysfunctional systems. Remove that wall, and everything crumbles back into the truth it always hid. Jung documented something he called the narcissistic collapse. When an empath stops feeding a toxic person, that person emotionally starves. They panic. They lash out. They deploy every manipulation tactic they know to drag you back into the old dynamic. Why? Because their entire false identity was built on your emotional labor. without you moderating their emotions, validating their illusions, absorbing their projections. They're forced to face the emptiness inside them. And you're watching this play out right now. Family members who once mocked your sensitivity now accuse you of being cold. Friends who used your support without gratitude now insist you've changed and aren't the same person anymore. Partners who depended on your constant flexibility now label you selfish just for setting basic limits. Coworkers who relied on you to manage the emotional atmosphere now claim you're not a team player. This is your villain arc, and it's actually a marker of healing, not decline. Jung asserted that stepping out of collective unconscious agreements is the first real step toward sanity. When everyone around you functions from dysfunction, choosing health looks like rebellion. Society calls it problematic. Psychology calls it individuation. Here's the uncomfortable truth no one says openly. Feeling like the antagonist right now means you're on the right track. You're disrupting long-standing patterns that survived only because of your self-sacrifice. The people benefiting from those patterns will fight to resurrect them. Their discomfort is not your burden to soothe. Their panic is not your crisis to solve. Their collapse is not your responsibility to prevent. Let me make this even clearer. That mother who demanded you adjust to her mood swings? She now calls you disrespectful because you stopped managing her emotions. That friend who only reached out when they needed something? They're telling others you're a bad friend because you're no longer endlessly available. That partner who assumed your loyalty was guaranteed? They say you're cruel because you finally enforced a boundary they violated for years. They're right that you've changed. They're wrong about what the change means. You haven't become harsh, you've become structured. You haven't become selfish, you've become self-protective. You haven't turned cold, you've become intentional about where your warmth goes. But there is a genuine danger here, one Jung warned about. And you need to recognize it before you drift too far in the wrong direction. When you see everything clearly, you risk cutting yourself off from human connection entirely. If you can detect every hidden motive, every silent resentment, every subtle manipulation, every projected shadow, how do you connect with anyone authentically? This is the empath's curse in the new era. Heightened perception without wisdom leads to existential loneliness. You become the only awake person in a room full of sleepwalkers. You see the truth beneath every interaction, every relational dynamic, every structural system. And that truth can isolate you from the collective in ways that feel deeply alienating. You start noticing everyone's wounds, and no one seems whole. You see everyone's patterns, and no one feels authentic. You detect everyone's manipulations, and trust feels impossible. This is the moment when many empaths retreat entirely, convinced solitude is safer than engaging with an unconscious world. But isolation is not integration. It's another kind of imbalance. Jung emphasized this repeatedly. The goal is not to escape society. The goal is to participate in society consciously while preserving your integrity. That's far more difficult than disappearing, but it's the only path to genuine fulfillment. There's another danger, even more subtle: inflation. When you realize your perceptual abilities exceed others by massive margins, when you routinely predict outcomes others can't see, when you understand human psychology at depths that trained professionals overlook, you may start believing you're special, chosen, elevated above ordinary people. This is ego inflation, and it's a trap that destroys many empaths who reach this level. The moment you start identifying yourself as superior to others, you've already lost the essence. Your gift turns into a weapon of judgment instead of a tool for insight. You begin to look down on people for their unconsciousness instead of recognizing the humanity of their path. You become exactly what you once loathed: someone who uses their abilities to elevate themselves above others. The integrated empath doesn't feel superior. They feel responsible. They recognize that heightened perception brings an equally heightened temptation to abuse it. Every detail you know about someone's vulnerabilities becomes a test of your integrity. Will you use it to support or to harm? Will you turn their wounds into ammunition, or will you hold space for their healing? The point isn't to become a psychological puppeteer. manipulating the world with your insight. The point is to guard yourself from real threats while maintaining your humanity toward everyone else. This is the razor's edge you're navigating now. Too much openness and you get destroyed. Too much defense and you turn into the very force that caused your wounds. So what does an integrated empath actually look like in everyday life? Let me spell out something that confuses many people. The integrated empath isn't nice. They are kind. And there's a massive distinction between these qualities that most people fail to understand. Nice people avoid conflict at all costs to keep the peace. Kind people engage conflict when necessary to preserve integrity and truth. Nice people tolerate dysfunction so they don't make waves. Kind people refuse to enable dysfunction even when it costs them relationships. Nice people smile through mistreatment because they don't want to seem difficult. Kind people set boundaries without shame because self-respect is non-negotiable. Nice people need universal approval. Kind people need to approve of themselves when they look in the mirror. Nice people sacrifice their truth to avoid upsetting others. Kind people voice their truth even when it disrupts harmony, because false peace is not peace at all. The integrated empath wields a sword, one sharpened through years of studying human nature. They know exactly where to strike to inflict maximum psychological harm. They simply keep that sword sheathed unless true self-defense demands its use. They could dismantle someone's psyche by naming truths that person has buried for years. They simply choose not to, because destruction isn't the goal. Boundaries are. This kind of restraint, grounded in genuine power, is what makes them formidable. Anyone can hold back when they're weak and have no alternatives. But choosing restraint when you have the capacity to obliterate someone, that's the mark of integration. That's what distinguishes the integrated empath from both the victim and the aggressor. This is the era where the empath transitions from servant to leader. Consider what you've already been doing your entire life. Instantly reading rooms, predicting outcomes others can't see, understanding human behavior at emotional depths most people never access. You've been mediating conflicts, managing complex relational dynamics, seeing solutions that protect everyone's dignity. These skills don't belong in support roles. They belong in positions of direction and influence. The world doesn't need more appeasers in leadership. It needs people who can see through political theater, speak truthfully despite pressure, and lead authentically from an integrated core. That's you. Once you accept this, once you stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable, once you claim the seat at the table you were always qualified for, everything changes. Here's what shifts in practical terms in this new era. You trust your instinct instantly, without spiraling into self-doubt. When someone feels off, you no longer override your intuition with logical excuses or misplaced empathy. You don't wait for multiple confirmations of what your system already recognizes. You act on your perception immediately, unapologetically. You enforce boundaries without guilt, without justification, without emotional essays explaining your feelings. When someone crosses a line, you don't enter debates about why it hurt you. You don't chase their understanding. You don't negotiate your right to be respected. You simply apply the consequence and continue your life. No becomes a complete sentence. You allocate your energy with the precision of a seasoned investor. Your empathy becomes selective and intentional. Not everyone deserves your emotional labor. Not every wound is yours to mend. Not every broken person is your responsibility. Not every crisis requires your rescue. You consciously choose where your energy flows, based on reciprocity, respect, and sincere connection. You stop trying to force people to see you accurately. This is monumental. You release the exhausting impulse to correct distorted perceptions others have about you. If someone is committed to misunderstanding you, that's their limitation, not your assignment. You live authentically and let them sit with their own projections. Their story about you belongs to them, not to you. You speak your truth without cushioning it for other people's comfort. You stop filling your boundaries with disclaimers, apologies, and softening phrases. You stop prefacing your needs with "I'm sorry, but" or "I don't mean to be difficult." You state what is without cushioning reality for people who should be mature enough to handle it. You let people experience the consequences of their own choices. This might be the hardest part. You stop rescuing people from problems they created. You stop fixing situations that aren't your responsibility to fix. You let the natural consequences play out even when it's painful to watch, because that's how people learn and grow. The final message is this. You have spent your entire life feeling others, absorbing their emotions, processing their trauma, regulating their nervous systems, managing their reactions, protecting their feelings. Now you must feel yourself, your own anger, your own boundaries, your own limits, your own truth, your own power. The world doesn't need you to fix it. That was never your job, no matter what anyone told you. The world needs you to see it clearly and respond with integrated power. To be the mirror that reflects truth. To be the boundary that teaches respect. To be the example that shows what healthy looks like. This is your era, not because the stars aligned or because you're special or chosen. This is your era because you've done the work. You've integrated your shadow. You've accepted your power. You've stopped apologizing for your perception. You've started wielding your gifts consciously instead of unconsciously. This is the era where empaths stop being emotional support animals for everyone around them and start being the architects Jung predicted you would become. The era where your sensitivity becomes your greatest strength instead of your deepest weakness. The era where you stop absorbing the world's pain and start reflecting its truth back with crystalline clarity. You're not here to make people comfortable. Perception. Thanks for watching. See you in the next dimension.